Hello everyone and welcome to my video tutorial. I would like to show you how to write your own Don't Touch the Spike game. It won't be a very complicated program, but I can guarantee you that if you will hit the run button once, you won't close this game after just one round. So let's get to work. We import all necessary modules in advance. Now we can move on to creation of a frame. Of course you don't have to use the same values as I do. It's up to you. The variables side1 and side2 are representing the thickness of our outline. You can observe how the frame is changing right above my head. I import the picture via my Dropbox and create background with mentioned outlines. We have to create our little bird. In that order we need to describe 4 features. What does he look like, where he is, how big he is, and how fast he is flying. In other words, we have to create a class with 4 arguments: image, center, velocity, and radius. The draw method will draw the image of created class. So I create my bird and add his draw method to our draw handler. Now let's make him move. I define the update method. As its name says, it will update the bird's position by the value of velocity. That bird can hang in the middle of the air. As the old physics law says, the gravity will force him to move down in the vertical direction. So the second coordinate of velocity will be described by that formula. Those numbers are chosen with the trials and error method. If you want, you can change them and see what will happen. Don't forget to call the update method in the draw handler. Let's see how does it look like. Okay, so I changed the vertical position of our bird so that you can watch the animation longer. Little bird is falling down to the infinity as he should. Come on guys, we have to save him. So I define the up method for our bird. It will decrease the value of vertical velocity by 20 and it will be started with key down handler. I think I am going a little bit too fast. So let's analyze it one more time. There's our bird. He is forced by the gravity to fall down about 0.3 pixels per frame. And then BAM! The key down handler gives him a force to jump over 20 pixels in just one frame. Then he's falling down again. So the vertical movement is done. Let's change the value of horizontal velocity and see what will happen. Come on, we want our bird to stay with us. So if he will reach the outline, in other words the sum of his radius and his vertical position will be greater than the horizontal coordinate of the outline, we will change the sign of velocity to make him reflect. So I added 4 lines of the code to update method and you can see the results. Okay, my bird is falling down right after the frame starts, and I think it won't be comfortable for the players, so I create boolean variable game on and assigned it as a global in key down handler. Meanwhile, I've made a condition that my bird will jump only if we press space. And now the condition. If not game, which means right after the game starts, variable game is now true and my bird calls the method start. How this method will work? We want our bird first to hang, then to move. So in order to hang him, we need to delay the gravity at the beginning and set its value to around 0.3 in the start method. I also set the horizontal velocity. Remember to make velocities equal to 0 in the creation of our bird. Now let's see how it works. It works as it should work. But this game is too simple. We need to enter some kind of danger, and by danger I mean spikes. So again, we need their look, place, size and rotation. In the language of Python, we need a class with arguments image, position, radius and angle. Just like in the bird class, I define the draw method. So first I am going to create the spikes at the top and the bottom, but they will be there always with constant coordinates. So instead of drawing class, I just use for function to draw the images of spike. Now the spikes on right and left. We need empty lists. Now I define what needs to be done in order to create spikes on each side. If the game is on, those functions will create spikes on different vertical positions. The radius at both sides will be the same, unlike the angle. Why are we creating spikes outside the frame? It's because we want to make an animation of their appearance. For example, the bear hits the right side, so you want spikes on the left side to appear. So we increase the value of horizontal coordinate until it will exceed the value of left outline's position. We are back in our spike class, and if we want to update something in our class, we need to create a particular method just like we did with bird. I create two Boolean variables and I give them value false. As I said, if left spikes have to appear, the horizontal coordinate is increasing to given value. We need functions that will change the value of our Boolean variables. After the start of the frame, we don't want any side spikes to appear, so I give both variable value false. In other words, those functions will ask our spikes to appear. So when we will call them? Of course we will call them when our bird will hit the side. So let's go back to our birdie class. If the bird will hit the right side, the spikes on left are created and each one of them is appearing right after the creation. As I said, if left spikes have to appear, the horizontal coordinate is increasing to given value. Same thing with spikes in right, but now the horizontal position will be decremented. Remember to call the classes in drawHandler. For each element in each list we have to use draw and update methods. There's just one more thing, try to draw those outlines at the end so they could cover hidden spikes. How does it work? Of course, we don't want to create a countless amount of spikes, so we need a fading system. It will work similar to the appearing system. Bird hits the side with spikes and the value of its horizontal position is being decremented. Well, it's the same method, two Boolean variables, two functions that will give them true value, additional line in update method, and a reference to fading functions in bird's update method. So if the bird hits one of the side, the spikes on that side are fading away. If bird will hit the left side, it's just a mirror. As you can observe, our program is starting to remind a game that we are going to create. So if there's a game, there has to be a game over. But at the beginning the game is not over, so I create a new Boolean variable, false variable, and now in birdie class I define the method gameOver. It will change the Boolean value of game on to false. Because when the game is over, it can be longer on. So remember about assigning that variable as a global. The main task that this method will do is changing the value of gameOver variable to true, but it will also get rid of all of the side spikes when the player will lose the game. I want to improve the drawHandler a little bit. If the game will be over, program will draw the same bird, but turned upside down. It's a quite sad picture. So, in order to be sure that the game is over, we will draw a special image that the game is over when the game will be over. That's a lot of game overs, so when the game will be actually over? In order to determine that, we need to create our collision system. So, we've got two objects, we know their positions and their sizes. We can also create a function that will compute the distance between them. Imagine the situation that they collide, what it will look like from the geometrical point of view. As you can see, the collision occurs when the distance between both objects is smaller than the sum of their radiuses. So first, the distance function is a well-known formula, so we won't stop here. And now we are in bird's class update method. And we are going to check for each element of both lists with spikes if the distance between that element and bird is smaller than the sum of radiuses. If it is, the game is over and our bird will reflect from the spike. What about situation like this? Objects don't theoretically collide, but the distance is smaller than the sum of radiuses, so unfortunately in that situation the game is over. In order to avoid it, I recommend you to increase the distance in our conditional a little bit. If you will find that game to be too easy or too difficult, the best way to change the difficulty will be to simply manipulate that parameter. So the game will be over if the bird will hit the bottom or top spikes too, but we can't check the condition of collision because those spikes were created only by using the image. So we will simply check if the vertical coordinate increased or decreased by the value of radius is exceeding the outlines. After the player will lose the game, trust me, he will definitely lose one of his games, and he needs an opportunity to start one more time. Trust me, he's going to start it one more time. So let's move on to the key down handler and create an extra condition. So after the collision, which means when the game is over, if we press the space button, the game will no longer be over. But it won't be also on. Hitting the space will also create new bird in the middle. Okay, good news, the game is over. All we need to do now is to create some special features. Let's start with points. I create two new variables, score and high score. Of course, at the beginning their values are equal to 0. Then I mention them in the draw handler. When the points will be added to our score, of course if the bird will hit the side. So we are again an update method for birdie class, and for each side, if the game is on and the bird will hit the outline, the score is increased by 1. What about high score? Let's move on to game over methods for the same class. Remember about global variables. At the end of a round, which means if the game is over, if current score will be greater than the high score, the program will save current score as high score. After that, the value of current score will be equal to 0 again. If the game isn't on, it will be good to show the player what can he do in order to start, so in a draw handler we will draw press space in the middle if the game is over or it's not on. The last feature are sounds. I've also provided them to the program via Dropbox. You will hear what kind of sounds are they in a second. One of them will be played after the collisions, the other one each time we will hit the jump button. So it's all, our game is ready. I hope you liked it, I hope you will spend some time with it. Of course, it's just a Mine version of game, you can make your own. You can set your own background, you can increase the amount of spikes, you can do whatever you want. It's programming. Thanks for watching and good luck.